Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Coast to Coast Combat Hour. I'm your host, Matthew Hawkins, and as always, other than my interview with Fernando Gonzalez, my co-host Ed Carbajal. Ed, what's going on, brother?
Nothing much, just allergies kicking my ass. Really quick, just for folks, if you're just jumping on now, watching us as we stream this live, the Fernando Gonzalez interview, there's a link in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. If you want to watch it right away, jump right to that. If you're listening to this on Spotify or wherever you listen to the audio version of the podcast, just jump to the remaining 30 or so minutes, and you'll get the Fernando Gonzalez interview right away if you're pressed for time. But it's a great chat. He's always open to jumping on the podcast with us. Unfortunately, the timing was off, so Matt did it
Yeah,
solo.
this it was
Did a
it
good
was a
job.
late. Yeah, it was late put together. Did it on Saturday. It was thrown together in a matter of hours. So I'm glad to get a chance to speak to him. A week out from his big fight
Mm-hmm.
at Knucklemania 4, and he's always got something good to say, and he's always a good guy. And if you watch
Always
him
ready
fight,
to throw down too. And
exactly.
he's definitely someone that he's probably in hindsight, him fighting independently like as a free agent, the way he has, he's not tied up with the Bellator PFL nonsense. So, in kind of a way, long term, he lucked out with that as far as that goes. But really quick, before we get deep into the Knucklemania card that's coming your way, Derek Anderson versus Cedric Doumbé. If you haven't heard already, that fight is off. Derek Anderson got involved in a hit and run. His foot is broken, or whatever the hell Kevin Nicholson wants to call it. Bent the other way. He's he's not doing too good. The fight, literally 24 hours from when the fight got announced, got in a motorcycle accident. And if you follow Derek Barbaric on Instagram, I think that's his handle. He's got a GoFundMe up if you want to throw him some cash, help him. He's pretty much going to be out of commission for a while. If you saw the picture of his foot, but I'm sure you have, because we were recording this at the end of the day of it happening. So I just wanted to make sure we mentioned that, because he's somebody that's been another one that's given us time while he was with Bellator, and that was actually a really good fight, him and Doumbé. I feel like Doombay's got like a foot curse or something, because between Derek Anderson breaking his foot and Doumbé losing his fight over a piece of glass in his own foot at his last fight, I just I don't know, man. PFL's got a lot of stuff that they need to work on
I
as their
mean,
season goes ahead.
and did you see the card they announced? The next card has 5 rematches in one trilogy.
Yeah, it's like a Bellator remix. Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw.
yeah. I just wild that's
Lucky
how.
for them, they got the Bellator roster, and those fighters are.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
glad the
lucky for
fighters.
them.
Yeah.
It looks like they're rigging the women's bracket again too. I saw
Hmm.
some stuff going on there. Um, you know,
And it would be nice if Don Davis would like have a live conversation with Chris Cyborg, because he keeps saying she's fighting in the fall, and she seems to constantly tweet that no one's reached out to her. So, like, maybe talk to the people that you're announcing fights for before you make the fights happen. But I don't know.
what percentage do you give Ngannou actually fighting in September,
Oh, come on.
October?
Whatever Turkey, that's whatever that guy is. When he says they're fighting, that's when the fight happens.
Okay, there you go. There you
Yeah,
go. Well, there you go. When they decide to throw extra money into
yeah,
the pot
yeah.
to get him in Saudi
Hmm.
Arabia. Okay, yeah, that makes sense, because I don't. He's not voluntarily going into the PFL cage anytime.
Yeah,
At least not with some major incentive at this point. But
yeah.
yeah. So what else? McGregor. I don't know if you've seen the early news, but the McGregor
Yeah, I forgot if we even
Chandler
talked about that.
uh, early rumored ticket prices, let's just call that,
Oh
are
yeah,
off the hook. Not off the hook. They're off the they're the next level for
it's
expense.
only for Epstein Island list people and other sorts of rich puff daddy like the Illuminati level. That's if you have that money, that's how you're getting to yeah, that's how you're getting to 303. If not for nothing, how do you spend money on a fight that again, International Fight Week, man? We know that's a cursed week in Vegas. Something's gonna happen. Some fight's gonna fall
Well,
out.
I'm going. So, and I
Which
don't. I don't have Illuminati. I don't have Illuminati. I don't have Epstein Island money or none of that stuff.
Well, no,
But
California.
I am a fool for the fights, and it is a happening. Let's just say that a McGregor fight is something that I would
Uh,
like, ideally, every fight fan to have the ability to experience
After July, Matt will be streaming from
one,
a storage shed.
one time. It's starting in July, not after July.
Yeah.
But yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm getting in the door for the cheapest tickets I'm able to physically get my hands on. So I'm not gonna be sitting down in the $12,000 VIP
He'll be
stuff
outside.
or
You have to pay to be outside and watch somebody open the door and catch a glimpse. That's the level of the UFC.
I'll be able to smell the
now.
popcorn and buy a $30
Yeah.
beer. So I'll be there for it.
Fight one of the Spider-Men
But with
outside.
that said, you bring up valid points. The only thing that keeps me sane is the fact that, and I've stated it, when McGregor's on the marquee, he's always showed up. Now there's always a first. Let's knock on whatever you can knock on, but let's hope that that's not a first. But he tends to show up. It's gonna be a fun fight. This
I like where Michael
165.
Chandler's head is at. Like all the interviews he's doing, getting ready for. I don't think the weight doesn't matter anymore for this fight. Like I just
No,
like
this
that Michael Chandler seems to be in kill mode now. Like all the interviews he's doing, the way he's talking, it's like talking. It's like Justin Gaethje's talking on Fight Week. You know what I mean? Like just ready to die, ready to put Connor, like back into the movie circuit or whatever. All the stuff he's been saying.
his entire career comes down to this fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, not for me, not for you, because we know Michael Chandler and we know the battles and all the great fights he put on in Bellator and his amazing great time there. But the actual fan, this is the fight. A win here, he could essentially retire Conor McGregor, go down his history as his last, potentially his last fight. And McGregor's primed for it. Poirier showed you how it can be done. So I feel like, it's there for him, and it's all there. The fight, if there's pressure on McGregor, but McGregor is a cajillionaire who is not going to lose his, is not, and not that I'm sure Chandler's financially set as well, but this is a fight that chance to really put a a star on top of his career, and just, it's a win that nobody would ever take away from him, and it would be remembered for a long time, especially potentially how it could go down, because I don't necessarily see it being a 5-round fight. I feel like there's going to be some big shots, and I think it's going to be an
I see a
exciting
finish
fight.
coming. Yeah, I see a finish coming for sure.
So anyways, that'll be UFC 303. We got multiple pay-per-views to talk about before we get there, but this weekend the blood will be flowing in Southern California for Knucklemania 4, presented by Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Mike Perry faces off Thiago Alves. Just a stacked bare knuckle card with MMA names up and down, and a professional boxer making his debut. So looks like we got a lot to look forward to.
What's crazy to me is like there's a championship bout on there, and Mike Perry's still the main event. He's definitely he's such every card that they put him on seems to be, that weekend that he fights at a bare knuckle event, it winds up being like the peak fight event of that weekend. And it looks like that. I mean, that was the case last time. That's going to be the case this time. And when he fought Alvarez last time, and even like, for everything we know about Thiago Alves, something about Perry in this format of fighting just makes him he's the guy to be. I can't see him losing. I just don't see him losing.
No, I agree with you. And I think he's become a special thing kind of right now for them in BKFC. It reminds me a bit about like pro wrestling, in a sense that in pro wrestling, a lot of the best wrestlers wouldn't necessarily get a championship belt because the promoters didn't see any real gain in the fighter, in fame and in glory. so he's got such a name. He's so over with the crowd, as they would say in pro wrestling, and he's so right now his fame is at an all-time high. He really doesn't
Mhm.
even have to have championship fights. A title would almost hold him back because then you
Mhm.
have number one contenders and stuff like that. Whereas now it's like super fight after super fight after super fight.
Yeah.
I and he has 3 divisions, 4 divisions he can flex between if he wants to.
Yeah.
So I think
And
that's how it
he
kind of
hinted
feels to
at
me.
that. Yeah, he hinted at that too at the last when he was at the post fight presser for the last one, that he was just like it has to be, and he's doing it smart with his own career. He's flat out said it's got to be another name. I can't do it by myself. It's got to be another name that makes sense. And I mean, this fight makes sense. I mean, it's funny because Thiago Alves didn't. Joe Rogan just referenced Thiago Alves when Holly Holm and
Kyla
what's her
Harrison.
name? Yeah, Kayla Harrison were going at it. He said Kayla Harrison's back looked like Thiago Alves back. So I was just like, yeah, dude. Like, I mean, the dude is I mean, he's dangerous, but it's just bare knuckle. I mean, if anybody was a natural in bare knuckle, it's definitely Mike Perry.
I think his aggression and his fearlessness is kind of what sets him apart in a sense.
Mm,
Obviously, Alves is a former champion in being at BKFC as well, and he just gave up the belt. He's 2-0.
mm,
Um, I think that the savagery of Mike Perry comes through. The only fear that I kind of have is like seeing how the athletic commission in California reacts to some of the cuts. And I know that that's nothing new to them. Between boxing and MMA, California is probably the most experienced commission
mm.
maybe in the world. But whenever something new comes in, I'm always interested, on
Yeah,
how it's going to be played out, and
yeah.
and what they're gonna allow, and is it gonna be, obviously you got to stop. We've had Doc Lucas on a million times. There's certain cuts that you have to stop a fight, and then there's other ones that are just judgment and
Mm.
and understanding of the dangers. But yeah, I mean, I like Mike Perry in the main event. I think it's gonna be exciting, and I Tiago Alves is
What's
dangerous, but when you take away the kicks from Tiago Alves, I feel like you kind of,
Mm.
you know as the max fighter, we know, like in an MMA fight, I tend to maybe lean more Tiago Alves. I think that's maybe fair.
Yeah, if
Like
it was
it,
MMA, but it's not. I
certainly,
mean,
certainly in their prime, but in this, no, no, in
what's
this,
the because you're going to this and it's out by you. I mean, like as we enter fight week, what's the energy like out there? Like, does it seem like folks are gearing up for this, or is it low key? How's it
yeah,
seem?
not where I'm at. It's I'm too far to notice. Other than
Mm-hmm.
Fernando, talking to him about it, and him being local to me. No, I mean, it's in LA. It's 90 minutes from me, so
Mm,
I don't. Right now, there's a lot going on. The thing about this is now, I mean, the Lakers are going to have a playoff game not in the same, it's not the same building, but it's like right next to each other. It's fairly similar to almost to MSG and the
mm,
theater at MSG. So you're gonna have BKFC going off in the Peacock Theater, the home of like American Idol, and then
mm,
right next to it you're gonna have a Laker playoff game.
mm,
So that it's downtown LA is gonna be popping on
mm,
Saturday night. Um, so I don't know what that'll do. I don't know if that affects the crowd. I don't know if you have some sports fans who are maybe going to the Laker game that might have went to the fight that night if opportunities had been different. So I don't know, but I know that they have their weigh in coming up, press conference. Um, Actually might be on in about an hour here. But I think by the time it rolls around, I think the crowd's going to be hyped. Southern California always has a good fight crowd, and I think it's going to be fun. The main event is standalone, an amazing fight. You mentioned the title fight. Mick Terrell, who's the newly crowned heavyweight champion, is fighting Lorenzo Hunt, who was a 2 division champion. The weight divisions are slightly different, but it's the equivalent of him being the middleweight and light heavyweight champion. Now he's moving up to he's trying to become triple champ. Um, I don't know if he vacated those titles and he's going to stay at heavyweight. I'm not real sure about the ins and outs of all that. Doesn't even freaking matter right now. Before the fight, or as of today, he is the reigning and defending 85 and or middleweight and light heavyweight, essentially might be cruiserweight again. It's the two upper divisions closest to heavyweight. So he's essentially trying to become a triple champion, 11-1. Matrix a lot of people in there for I mean he's caught punches and done
Mhm.
some wild stuff. His last fight, he was against Mike Richmond, and it was one of the most. Uh, Actually, I'm sorry. Is 2 fights ago was Mike Richmond, and he had the huge back and back. He rebounded with a decision win over Chris Camozzi, but both of those fights he had issues and trouble. So I not obviously as the competition gets better, he's going to have that. I think he's going to have trouble here with the 270-pound Terrell. I mean, if you just look at their stats right there, you're looking at it says 270 to 185. Even if Hunt comes in at 230, he's likely to be 40, 50 pounds lighter than Terrell in the ring. So I'm gonna go with the heavyweight champion, and because I do believe when you have two skilled athletes, that big of a size difference has got to play some kind of role.
Mhm. Yeah, the the other fight that's on there that jumped out to me when I was, because I only watch these when Perry fights. Obviously, folks can't tell, but this fight right here, Rothwell and Duffy. I mean, um, I feel like I don't know. I feel like this is going to be either a quick one or a really boring one.
Boring? No, I don't think it'll be boring with Ben Rothwell involved.
Mm,
Um, I I also don't think Duffy is anywhere near the caliber of Ben Rothwell.
mm,
Not to be a knock, but he got knocked down on his feet by Frank Mir in MMA.
mhm.
Um, Overeem just annihilated him in Dream. Um, and Rothwell's been successful 2-0, really dominating.
Yeah,
Josh Copeland in his last bout. Um, this
that's right.
bout was originally scheduled for Salt Lake City a couple months back, and I'm not sure which one of them had an issue, but it got rescheduled for tonight or for the Saturday night. I'm going with Rothwell by knockout. He's a big dude. I
Hmm.
know Duffy's huge too, but Rothwell is one of those guys you walk up to and he very well could be the biggest person some people have ever met. He's a big, big man.
Yeah,
Um, so I go with Rothwell. Um, I go with Rothwell. I think he's going to dominate. I
yeah,
think
no,
I think it's more of like just a heavyweight name for him, who's a guy who's going to come and leave it in the ring. But I think Rothwell's going to eat him up
for
that night.
sure. Antoine Willis, what's up, man? It's really cool to see. He would just wrote in and says it's really cool to see how Mike never gave up and how he's a millionaire off of bare knuckle fighting. It is. It's almost like he went. We said this a couple of podcast episodes. I think the last time he fought, he went from being like some guy that people were snickering at when he was in the UFC to what he is. He's like he's. I said I think when we were saying that he's like the Michael Jordan or John Jones of bare knuckle, whoever the best athlete is in your favorite sport. I mean, for bare knuckle, Mike Perry's like that guy. If they made like bare knuckle sneakers, there'd be an Air Perry on there. You know what I mean? Like he's just he's really come into his own. Now he's featured on multiple podcasts and doing his own thing. And the thing about this sport is like who knows how long he's going to be able to do it, especially the way he fights. That fight against Alvarez, like I thought technically it looked like Alvarez was winning until Perry just laid into him with that one punch that made him want to quit. But that's why this is the card, the main event to bring them to LA into Matt's neck of the woods and get Matt in there, in his home state for once, which seemed like it came under the radar when we found out about it, right?
Yeah, it just popped out of nowhere and it was like slid into some other. It was like hidden under slap fighting or something. I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm being serious. I think
Mhm.
it was like a letter. Somebody was saying how slap fighting got legalized in California, and just if you just read the notes, it also mentioned, bare
Fair
knuckle combat,
enough.
and um,
Which is good though. It's good for a BKFC at David Feldman because if you're gonna legalize something as silly as slap fighting and you got skilled actual combatants in a sport, which is just it's boxing with no gloves in a smaller ring or whatever, but people want to talk about the brutality of it. But I think the more BKFC, the more bare knuckle events that happen as a whole, the more folks are seeing how, even though it looks gruesome, the stuff with the CTE and the concussive force or the that gloves produce with with the KOs and stuff like that. You're seeing something like bare knuckle kind of like bring more attention to research when it comes to combat sports and facial and head trauma. And I know Eric McGracken just posted something like that a couple of days ago where he was like, maybe the problem with KOs and concussion and CTA are the gloves. It's been cited before in many studies. I wrote something years ago about it. I know he's posted a lot of studies on combat sports law, so it's good that they're in one of the media like towns in like LA and holding this event. You were saying something to me about this before we started recording this particular matchup with Angulo and Riggs.
So Alfredo Angulo is a former, or might still be current professional boxer. Um, Pro boxing record of 26-8. Maybe that doesn't sound great. Obviously, there's 8 losses there, but he did go 10 rounds with Canelo Alvarez. He did get finished in the 10th, but he he went through 9 rounds in 2
Yeah,
minutes
that's saying a lot. Yeah.
Canelo Alvarez. He's also been in the ring. He lost a split decision to Sergio Mora, another very, very good boxer over the years. Um, so he's been in there with the best in boxing. So he's bringing a skill set that, like we just saw recently with Austin
Mhm.
Trout, where Austin Trout's now the champion after beating Luis Palomino. Um, so I look. It's interesting. Nico Hernandez was a U.S. Olympian. He fought on one of the early Wichita cards, Wichita Fight Nights for BKFC, and he ended up winning his fight. His little brother was also a boxer. He fought and had success. So real pro boxers seem to be successful so far in this.
Mhm.
Chop Chop Corley, I think, lost a split decision, if I recall correctly, maybe to Elvin Brito. But this is it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see, and you get 175, 165. It's hard to say the weight class exactly, but
Yeah.
pro boxer coming in seems to have success, unless he's perhaps fighting a world class fighter. And I don't know much about Jeremiah Riggs, but at 2-2,
I mean,
I
I don't
like
know if
Angulo.
all pro boxers have success, but like maybe if they're just not that, if they're mediocre boxers, and this kind of fits their bill a little more. Because I mean, Paulie Malignaggi broke his hands as the homeboy Joseph Correa predicted he would when he did his bare knuckle thing against Lobov some years ago. But this fight in particular, this card in particular, has a lot of great names on it that just jump out at you. This one jumped out before we started recording at me. I didn't even know Julian Lane was on this against Kurdanov, and you were giving me some history on Kurdanov.
So Kurdanov's coming off a title fight loss, but he's 4-1 in BKFC. Um, Julian Lane 5-7 in bare knuckle. They have him at 5-7 BKFC. I don't know if that's his overall bare knuckle or just his BKFC record, but I mean, if you're watching online this photo of these guys, it looks like we're looking at, this looks like something out of ACA or
Yeah.
some wild Russian MMA organization fight. But
Mm.
I kind of I'm gonna go with Kurdonov to win the fight. I think Lane's a little bit more of a punching bag who just really swings hard. So he's always in fights, but
As long as he gets to bang like the
I
famous
mean that's
quote,
kind
yeah.
of what it is. So I mean I think Kurdonov wins this fight.
Mm.
But you never know. Again, none of everything doesn't matter here. I guess this is so I thought Fernando Gonzalez was kicking off the main card. Looks like they got him on the prelims on this
Mhm.
website. We'll see if anything shifts around on there. But he has a fight. Don't know much about his opponent. When you listen to the interview, he doesn't know much about him either. Kickboxer. Um, that's really all we kind of
Hasn't
know
he done
about
other
him.
bare knuckle elsewhere though?
Who?
Fernando.
No, Fernando's never done bare knuckle fighting.
Huh.
This is his first time, and I asked him in the interview even if he's ever attended a bare knuckle event,
Mm.
and he hasn't. So this will be his first time around this
Oh, that's,
immediately.
that's a good placement on the card then.
So yeah, but he's got the experience, and this is what we're seeing right now. Anything can shuffle up depending on after the
Yeah.
weigh-ins and everything else.
And
Um,
just for folks, because the bare knuckle announced it just a couple of days ago. I mean, the prelims, they obviously see it here. It's on Fubu Sports. If you have the bare knuckle app and you pay for it, the whole event is free for you. But if you want to order the pay per view, you can actually order it on YouTube for $29.99. So they're making it really easy for you to watch this. I mean, $29.99. That's not too bad if you got nothing going on and you want
yeah,
to watch some fights.
fight hack, fight
Hmm.
watching hack. Order the app for a month at $7.99, and then cancel. You get the pay-per-view, and you get another event if they have another one in the next 30 days. So,
Yeah, good
I mean,
stuff.
and as somebody who vouched for the app, never been overcharged, runs cleanly 99.9% of the time. So I definitely, been praising the BKFC app since the day they dropped it. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a great fight night. I mean, the bottom line is there's really never been a really bad bare knuckle fighting night.
No.
I mean, some freaky stuff can happen every once in a while. You get some fluke injuries,
Hmm.
but you know, I just to me it's going to be electric no matter what. I don't see any way that people don't walk away from this who have never seen it, especially with thinking about the new experience and some of the stuff they're going to witness on Saturday night.
Yeah, for sure. I'm that's probably what I'm going to be into outside of I don't know if I think Spectation Sports has an event going on. I know we have one next weekend that I'm interviewing a fighter for after we do this, but one thing I wanted to say about this the Fernando interview. I don't know if you got to ask him that, but as I was watching it a little bit before we went into to record this, Yuri had asked, did you mention his fight with MVP? If you want to get the rematch with MVP, because I mean, obviously MVP is signed with the UFC, so that's not happening anytime soon. But did that MVP come up at all? Like, because MVP made his bare knuckle foray, and I thought that was a pretty interesting question. So I don't know if he's got history with MVP.
Well, I
I'd
want
like to
people to
know.
listen to the interview, but let me just say I asked him his toughest fight, his favorite fight, and the one fight he wishes he could have back. And
Okay.
I'll leave it at that. And let's just
Yeah.
say I guessed right on the one he wanted back.
Yeah. It makes sense. It
So
makes sense.
so yeah, check that out. That's on YouTube. You'll have it on the Spotify here shortly. Um, enjoy the fights this weekend, guys. And if you've never seen it, this would be the one to tune into if you want to see some kind of new action. Um, I mean, I vouch for it. I think the gods of violence love this sport, and hopefully it's a successful night and everything goes smoothly. Until then, fans can check out the show at Combat Hour on Twitter, Coast to Coast Combat Hour on Instagram. Follow me, Matthew Hawkins, at MMAHawk21 on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Ed at Carbazol on Twitter, Carbeerzol on Instagram, Old Head Carb on Twitch. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a good night.
Peace.